Hello and welcome to Weather on the Go, all your weather coverage. And this is a special edition here of a severe weather coverage here as we head into this evening. The Storm Prediction Center's Day 1 categorical outlook here has outlooked a level 2 with slight risk of severe weather across central and southern Missouri, into north central and northeastern Oklahoma, into southeastern Kansas, and far northwestern Arkansas, with a marginal risk here surrounding that. This does include the St. Louis metro area and down here towards Oklahoma City, Lawton, Oklahoma, Fort Sill, getting down just to the north here of Wichita Falls, El Reno, Oklahoma, and then Tulsa, Oklahoma, the north side of the Oklahoma City metro, getting up toward Joplin, Missouri, Springfield, Missouri, all in that slight risk zone as we head into here this evening. Now, as you see here, composite reflectivity, no thunderstorm activity here at the moment. That will change as we head here into the evening hours, as we see some thunderstorms, some isolated to widely scattered thunderstorms develop here once they bust through here the atmosphere, and a little bit of a cap on the atmosphere as we head into the afternoon here, into the early evening. And you can see the thunderstorm activity will blossom across north central portions of Oklahoma, southeast Kansas, and it will grow upscale into a loosely organized MCS or mesoscale convective system and roll eastward here as we head into portions of south central Missouri, northeastern portions here of Oklahoma around the Tulsa area, southeastern portions here of Kansas, and far northwestern Arkansas, north and west of Little Rock. And these will continue to push to the east here, kind of setting out a little bit of an outflow boundary here into portions of central portions of Arkansas, kind of moving its way down toward the Texarkana region, which could be here lead to a couple more isolated to widely scattered storms along the outflow boundary as we head to late here tonight into early tomorrow morning here, just due to the strong low-level jet here pushing into these storms. The reason why we're seeing this here, these storms are going to be right on the fringe here, the northern fringe of here, this warm air advection regime across central and southern portions here of Missouri into much of Oklahoma. Dew points will be rising well into the 50s to low to mid 60s across this region. And couple that here, you will have instability values, especially down in Oklahoma and Texas here, as you see around 2,000 to 3,000 joules per kilogram. Once you get up here into Missouri and portions of western and southwestern Illinois, the instability drops off a little bit, but still enough, around 1,000 to locally 2,000 joules per kilogram here, supportive of some strong to severe weather. Now you can see the bulk shear here is kind of displaced a little farther to the north, especially into Kansas and portions of Missouri, north central portions of Oklahoma. That's where the highest values kind of overlap that instability. That's where that localized MCS will kind of develop and roll eastward here through Missouri into western and southwestern Illinois here as we head into the overnight hours. And then the supercell composite here, not a lot of supercell activity. I think the southern flank of this could have some supercellular storms here, especially if you can have an outflow boundary here, kind of drop south and southeastward here through the overnight hours. And then we could have a couple supercell thunderstorms embedded with that here kind of firing up. And can't rule out maybe a tornado here, but the significant tornado parameters are not looking very favorable here as we head into tonight for any significant tornadoes. However, an isolated brief tornado here cannot be ruled out, especially here as we head into Missouri, down and through portions of the Oklahoma City metro, getting up towards Tulsa, Joplin, getting up towards here, just north of Springfield, Missouri, getting up toward the Quincy, Illinois area here as well, as we head into tomorrow morning. Now let's look at here the vorticity signature here on this map, because this is pretty interesting. Seeing a little bit here of some energy across the the mid Mississippi Valley region here as we head into tomorrow afternoon, with a short wave kind of developing and pushing to the north here across Texas. That's going to be the driving force behind tomorrow's risk for severe weather here. But then that main feature here we've been watching for several days now is starting to take shape here across the Pacific Northwest, a massive trough that will be developing and dropping southward, and then here ejecting into the middle of the country as we head toward midweek. And you can see that very clearly here as this drops into California, maybe some Californian rain here across these regions. And then you can see here a lot of that starts to amplify with southwesterlies and westerlies starting to kick in, producing some severe weather across the middle of the country here as we head into tomorrow. Now, Monday's severe risk, very similar zone, except maybe farther to the south here. A larger slight risk zone here from most of Arkansas getting into southern and southeastern Missouri, far western portions here of Kentucky, far southern Illinois around Carbondale, getting down toward far western here Tennessee around Memphis, and then here nosing its way down into southeastern portions of Oklahoma, northeastern and east central Texas here. This does include Dallas, Fort Worth, Texarkana, getting up just south and east here of Oklahoma City, Little Rock, Conway, Jonesboro. Those areas will be in the play for some severe weather, with a marginal risk here surrounding that down toward Shreveport, getting down toward Austin. Marginal risk here nosing its way up towards here. The Henryville, Indiana area, getting down here toward maybe Mount Vernon, Illinois, and they're about here just south of St. Louis, or near the St. Louis region here for that matter. A 5% tornado risk here is prevalent mainly across Arkansas, but also far southern Missouri, east central and southeastern portions here of Oklahoma into far northeast Texas. I think the Dallas-Fort Worth area, right on that line between that 2% and no tornado risk. The tornado risk will be highest around the Little Rock, Jonesboro area, Conway, Fort Smith, getting up toward Paducah, Kentucky, Memphis, Tennessee here as we head into tomorrow. Now, the severe wind risk here you can see is the same as that slight risk zone, and also the hail risk is as well, but there is a hatched hail risk here of 2 inches or larger of golf ball size or larger hail, especially around the Dallas-Fort Worth area, getting up here toward Little Rock, Conway, and Fort Smith, getting down toward Texarkana and portions here into southeastern Oklahoma as well, with golf ball size hail or larger is expected. Now you can see the composite reflectivity as we head into early tomorrow afternoon. These thunderstorms will be ongoing here across portions of the mid-Mississippi Valley Delta area, and you can see some a couple trailing here outflow boundaries from the MCS here from from tonight's severe weather. This could be the focal point for some severe weather as we head into tomorrow late afternoon. More of an overnight threat as we head into here Monday as well. Some scattered to numerous severe storms are possible here, but the overall coverage of severe weather is in question here due to the fact that we're going to have a surface-based cap on the atmosphere, especially into portions of east central Arkansas, nosing its way down toward the Dallas-Fort Worth area into east central Texas. A little less of a cap here into southeastern portions here of Oklahoma and west central Arkansas, so we'll have to monitor that here with a little less of a cap. And even the mixed layer cap still pretty prevalent across those same zones, so that does lead to some question of coverage of severe weather as we head into tomorrow night, and that will have to be monitored here in the next coming days. But you can see dew points will be juiced up here for some severe weather across most of Arkansas, getting into east central Texas, southeastern Oklahoma, north central portions of Louisiana. Dew points widespread in the mid to even close to the upper 60s across this zone, even some upper 60s to near 70 down toward the Houston area, over toward Austin here as we head into tomorrow evening. And when you couple that here with some instability here being thrown in the atmosphere, you can have here moderate to high instability values across especially east central Texas, southeast Oklahoma, west central, and really just most of Arkansas, and then kind of decreasing here in intensity with that instability the farther north and east extent here as you go. But back into east central Texas, southeastern portions of Oklahoma, into west central Arkansas, there is going to be 2,000 to 3,000 plus, and you're, like I said, locally plus higher than 3,000 joules per kilogram into these areas here to take advantage of for the energy. And then you have bulk shear output here. A lot of that wind shear, especially across the Arkansas area, that's where the highest tornado risk is going to be. A little less wind shear down into Texas. That does lead me to say that the storm risk as we head into Texas will be a lot more isolated to here, very widely scattered across these areas. And some of these storms might not even develop here down toward the Dallas-Fort Worth area over toward Texarkana due to that strong cap or lid on the atmosphere here prohibiting thunderstorms from really growing, those really strong updrafts. But if storms can develop here into northeastern and east central Texas, they will be severe, and they can produce some very large hail, 2 inches or larger in diameter, maybe an isolated tornado, and winds that could be over 60 miles per hour. So do want to be on guard for that here, especially in the Dallas-Fort Worth area here and up toward Texarkana if that does occur. Now, seeing this here, like I said, if the cap does break, supercell composite here values are pretty robust across this slight risk zone, even the marginal risk zone here. So decent values, especially centered on Arkansas, getting back into northeast Texas. and even significant tornado parameters. Some all right values here, getting some decent values here from a day or so out into central portions and west central portions here of Arkansas, nosing its way down to the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Maybe a stronger tornado is possible, especially if we can take advantage of all that energy and break through that cap as we head into tomorrow evening. And this will be a nocturnal tornado threat. This will happen during the evening and overnight hours, so do want to have multiple ways to get warnings across this area if you are in the marginal or slight risk zones, especially across here Arkansas, where the highest tornado risk looks to be as we head into tomorrow. Now, this is a sounding I took from near Little Rock, Arkansas. You can see possible tornado hazard on there. Not too terribly defined of a hodograph on here, but there is some matches here of some supercell and significant here hail from this, so we'll have to watch that. Like I said, hail values could be approaching or exceeding 2 inches in diameter across some of these regions. Now, as we head further into time here, as we head towards Tuesday, this here trough is going to continue to dig down into the Four Corners region, and this is going to continue to move up here with southwesterlies here moving into the center of the country ahead of this feature, and this is going to continue to push and amplify as we head towards the early Wednesday morning. And before then here, we're going to see a lot of energy pushing on the eastern side of this trough, and that is going to create another chance of more numerous and widespread severe weather perhaps here on Tuesday. So that's why the Storm Prediction Center has included in their day 3 categorical outlook an enhanced risk of severe weather here, a level 3 of 5 from southern and southwestern Iowa down through west central and northwestern portions here of Missouri, east central Kansas, most of east central here Oklahoma, and it does include the Dallas-Fort Worth area here as well, and in north central and northeast Texas, with a large slight risk zone surrounding that across most of Arkansas once again, most of Louisiana, getting down into here portions of east central Texas, getting to most of Iowa here. We could have a slight risk as far north here, as far southern portions here in Minnesota with some hailers up here. The farther south you go, a lot more instability, and that is where you have most of this hatched risk. I think the farther south in this hatched risk, there could be more instability, but couple that with instability and wind shear on the northern half of this hatch risk. I think the highest threat for the biggest severe weather on Tuesday, as I'm seeing now, is across the northern flank here of this enhanced risk and hatched risk zone across northwestern and west central Missouri into east central portions of Kansas and southwestern Iowa. This does include the Des Moines area down towards Omaha, Nebraska, Kansas City here in play, also Kirksville, Missouri, getting down here towards portions of Oklahoma City, Tulsa, and Dallas as well. Even the hatch risk getting as far south as Austin and Waco, Texas here as well, with a marginal risk kind of surrounding that into Illinois, Indiana, portions of Kentucky, and Wisconsin up toward the Dells and the Green Bay area as well. Now, looking at this with the composite reflectivity, you can see here some thunderstorms will be firing up here. This will be, once again, another nocturnal threat as this very potent, strong, low and mid-level jet punches right into these storms. And we'll get a broken line at first, but then a linear convective system that starts to develop, kind of like a QLCS or an MCS here of a squall line that develops here across western Iowa, tailing its way down here towards the Oklahoma area. And this will only continue to grow and upscale and push eastward here, kind of trailing an outflow boundary here as it starts to weaken into the overnight hours as we head into early Wednesday morning. Few tornadoes can be possible with this. Winds could be over 60 to 70 miles per hour and perhaps 2 inches or larger hail once again, especially once these storms start firing here across western Iowa into eastern Nebraska, getting into east central Kansas, northwestern portions here of Missouri, getting down to Oklahoma and Texas here as well. The reason for this is because a lot of dew point here, temperatures, boundary layer moisture here pushing all the way up into southern portions of Iowa, north central Illinois. We could have dew points into low to mid 60s. Even lower 70 dew points here getting down into northeast Texas, down towards southern Texas. So a lot of fuel for these thunderstorms. And these will also be efficient rainfall producers as well. So you got to think of a flash flood hazard here as well in some of these storms if they can train over the same areas. Now, a lot more instability or CAPE in the atmosphere as we head into our Tuesday evening, on the order here of a widespread 2,000 to 3,000 to even locally 4,000 joules per kilogram. So more than enough energy in the atmosphere, and like I said, some decent values across the northern end here of this enhanced risk zone, and you couple that here with some wind shear, and you're going to see some widespread severe weather. Now, there is one limiting factor as we head into Tuesday, and that is the threat here for a cap on the atmosphere once again. Surface-based cap across these areas, also a mixed layer cap, even stronger here in the atmosphere, especially as you get down to east central Kansas and around the Omaha area and the north around the Kansas City area. A lot of it here, strong cap, and as you get closer to that warm front here, a very strong cap on the atmosphere. And here you can see bulk shear output here, like I said, on the northern fringe here of this enhanced risk zone. You couple all that 2,000 to 3,000 joules per kilogram instability with all this wind shear here of around 50 to 60 knots or so, and you're going to have some more numerous to widespread severe weather, a few tornadoes even at nighttime. Well after dark, could have tornadoes across this zone, even especially down here into portions of Texas and Oklahoma here as well, where the higher instability will take. And you can see this trough really take shape here as it starts to try to negatively tilt here as we head in towards that time. And then the instability continues here as we head into the overnight hours. Supercell composite, very high values across especially southern Iowa, north central portions of Missouri into east central Kansas, central portions here of Illinois. And the significant tornado parameters very robust across most of this area in the enhanced risk zone, especially to east central Kansas, nosing its way down into central and eastern Oklahoma. And this is a sounding from near Omaha, Nebraska, shows a tornado as the possible hazard tag. You can see also here a more robust hodograph here as you get closer to that warm front here up towards portions of Omaha, Nebraska there, with winds at the surface coming out of the south-southeast and a few thousand feet up going out of the southwest, and then a few more thousand feet up here in the upper levels of the atmosphere coming more out of the west-southwest. So do got to watch this here as we head through time. Down near the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex in Texas here, a marginal tornado hazard tag, kind of a decent, hodograph, but not as impressive here as up toward that warm front near Omaha. But winds out of the south-southwest or southerly here, Dallas, turning to the west-southwest here as you go up into the mid and upper levels of the atmosphere. So enough rotation here for some very significant severe weather as we head through that time. Then we get to Wednesday, and this is where it gets even more interesting and concerning here for the middle of the country, as a more potent system really starts to take shape here. You can see as it starts to take a negative tilt, a very strong cyclone here of a low pressure system will develop and move up towards here the northern plains with some snowfall on the backside of it. But ahead of this here and east of that trough, a very potent here amounts of energy across, especially from Wisconsin down through Illinois, Iowa, Missouri, getting down into Arkansas, and that will be prime zone for severe weather, and that will just continue to push to the east with time. And that is why the Storm Prediction Center has their day 4 severe weather outlook of a 30% or enhanced risk across southern and central portions here of Illinois, getting down to southeastern Missouri, most, if not all of the state of here Arkansas, all the way down here into north central portions here of Louisiana, most of the state of Mississippi here, including Jackson, Mississippi, getting back toward Texarkana, Little Rock, Jonesboro here, Carbondale, Illinois, also just near the Nashville region and over towards here Paducah, getting down toward Memphis, areas like that here as we head into our Wednesday. And then that slight risk zone covers a lot larger of an area. I don't remember a time where a slight risk zone here went this far north and this far south here at the same time. This does include here near the Dells of Wisconsin, the Wisconsin Dells, Dubuque, Iowa, Chicago, Illinois, over toward Indianapolis, down toward Henryville, Lexington, Kentucky, getting over towards Nashville, Knoxville, and getting down here into portions of north central portions of Alabama, over toward Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, getting down toward New Orleans, and then getting over toward Dallas. Once again, could be 3 days in a row of severe weather for those areas. I do expect this enhanced risk to expand even further, maybe upgraded here during the day 3 outlook to maybe a moderate risk or 45% chance of severe weather. We'll have to see how that goes here with the Storm Prediction Center's new outlook. But with that outflow boundary across east central Texas here, you can see these thunderstorms really starting to here fire up, especially on the northern fringe of that into portions of Illinois. That's why I think here this enhanced risk will only expand farther northward, perhaps as far north as southern Wisconsin here as we head into tomorrow or Tuesday's outlook. And then thunderstorms really explode across the midsection of the mid-Mississippi Valley region as we head into our Wednesday evening. And this will be more predominantly a wind and hail threat as this pushes into the Ohio Valley, down through the Tennessee Valley, and the deep south, the Dixie Alley region as we head overnight on Wednesday. The reason for this, low to mid 60 dew points once again, getting as far north here as central Wisconsin, over toward Michigan, much of Illinois, getting down to the south, even some lower 70 dew points across here portions of Louisiana, Texas, and maybe inching its way closer to Mississippi and Arkansas as well. Couple that, and you have an instability values all the way up to the Canadian border here, from the Gulf of Mexico to the Canadian border. The highest values by far across the mid-Mississippi Valley region, the lower Missouri Valley, and getting down here into the deep south, with values here approaching or exceeding 2,000 joules per kilogram on Wednesday. Couple that with a very intense here dynamic jet stream, and you can have some very robust low and mid-level winds here as this trough starts to take a negative tilt on Wednesday and pushes east. Very impressive values coupled with these thunderstorms here, and I do expect Wednesday to be the most concerning and most widespread severe weather. You can see the supercell composite by far most robust across here, Arkansas down into portions of Louisiana, into Mississippi, western Tennessee, but still some values getting up towards here central and even northern Wisconsin toward the Green Bay area, some supercell composite values, and into Illinois here some decent values as well. Significant tornado parameter, very high values. I mean, this is 4 days out, everybody, and values are already pushing up toward the higher end of the scale here. So I do expect some potential significant tornadoes here to develop as we head into especially the lower Missouri Valley and portions of the deep south, potentially inching its way up toward the mid-Mississippi Valley and upper Midwest as well, closer to that low pressure system and all those dynamics as we get closer. Now, this is a sounding from near the Shreveport, Louisiana area. You can see a PDS tornado here signature on this here hazard tag, and a very strong sickle type of a hodograph on here with winds out of the south, changing to the west-southwest and perhaps westerlies as we head into the upper levels of the atmosphere. A lot of instability in the atmosphere as well, a lot of drier air, so that downdraft can really feed into that. Perhaps even up to 80 or 85 mile an hour wind gusts could be supported here by some of these values. As you can see, D Cape approaching 1,500 joules per kilogram, so a lot of energy in the atmosphere, especially as you get down toward the deep south. Now, this is near Davenport, Iowa. Another all right looking hodograph here. You can see a possible hazard tag of tornado. Winds will be out of the south or south-southeast, moving here a little farther in the atmosphere, a few thousand feet, going out of the southwest, and then same kind of as you get up and higher in the atmosphere. So not a lot of turning, but enough for some here tornadic thunderstorm potential as we head up toward the Quad Cities region here as well. Now, putting this all together here, you can see a lot of rainfall is expected for the next week here. All the way, this takes us all the way through Friday, April 15th here at 8 o'clock here p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and an additional 1 to 3+ inches of rain across most of the Ohio Valley, the Tennessee Valley, Dixie Alley, and inching its way up here in the upper Midwest. Chicago here could see an additional possibly up to an inch of rain, and then the backside of the system will have a massive snowstorm where up to 2 feet of snow is possible here as you head up into North Dakota. We'll fine-tune that here in the coming days with my forecast tomorrow, but I did want to focus on the severe weather threat here for today. Now, the Weather Prediction Center's Day 3 excessive rainfall outlook, a marginal risk here for flash flooding across portions of Arkansas, southeastern portions of Missouri, far southern Illinois, western and middle Tennessee, getting down here into portions of Mississippi, east central Texas, and then a slight risk zone of here flash flooding, a 10 to 20% flash flooding risk across portions of central Louisiana and far western portions of Mississippi. This does include right outside the Jackson, Mississippi area, near Shreveport, down toward Baton Rouge, and then the marginal risk of flash flooding for Little Rock, Memphis, getting up toward Carbondale, Paducah, and areas around there here as well, up toward Tupelo, Mississippi as well. This is actually valid from Tuesday into Wednesday here as we head through the week. So thank you for watching my video. Do be sure to like my video and to ask any questions and comments below. Remember to subscribe to my channel to catch the latest forecast updates. I'll have my full forecast yet again tomorrow about the severe weather and the snowfall on the backside. But thanks for joining me for my special severe weather coverage here this Sunday evening. And everybody have a safe night and week out there.